Thanks, Katrina, and thanks everyone, and thanks, Jackie, for letting me bump into the spot. So I wanted to, obviously, burnout is something I'm very passionate about. I have seen it in so many different settings. Absolutely in small business, probably very under-recognized in small business. And so I do want to talk about that. And I want to talk about some trends in the workplace, some things that have changed that you need to be aware of in your small team and in yourself. And it's going to help you manage your team more effectively, have a higher quality conversation with them, and help them to manage their own stress, energy, time, resources, so they can perform better for you for longer. Is that something you might be interested in? Is there any nodding? There's a nodding from at least Jackie. I've got one, and I got a thumbs up. Woohoo! We're rocking it. All right, I'm going to share my screen because I do want to talk about trends. And I feel that images definitely work a lot better alongside with my words. So I'm just going to jump to that. I have to look behind my screen. This is how techie I am to share it. Okay, so first and foremost, I wanted to just talk about how work has evolved. Can everyone see my screen? Yep, excellent. So it has changed. I don't know about you, but I've been around a few decades and I've worked in different working environments, and I'm very familiar with some of the changes, and some of them I wasn't really that cognizant that they had changed. And certainly now that I'm working in a university with such a huge variety of people from different countries and different ages and different stages in their careers, it's a little easier for me now to spot it than when I was in a small business. But it's just as relevant in a small business as it is in any workplace. So if you look at the evolution of the employee, how many of you can remember when we used to work 9 to 5? How many of you in small business work 9 to 5? Right. Okay. And Katrina's put her head down going, I know Nicole's going to talk to me about work-life balance. So this is a little bit more relevant to the corporate space, but let's jump to the things that are I guess relevant to small business as well. So and your teams are going through this at different stages and at different ages and at different speeds. So it's important to know that. They may have looked to you in the past for providing them with career progression. Not so much now. There's a lot more of having to set your own career path, having to do your own self-directed learning rather than waiting for the organisation to provide it for you. And there's very much around this collaboration and team and innovation and fast-paced, where in the past, things changed very slowly. Now there's a huge reliance on digital technologies to be able to run businesses of all sizes, whether it's a solopreneur or, a multi-team, multi-location business. So when you're having conversations with your teams about efficiency, about being consistently productive, have a conversation with them about where they are at on this evolution scale. I did bring this up at a conference for women in leadership last week, and during the discussion, there was quite a lot of recognition that this was an important conversation to have with the individuals and their teams, because it impacted their motivation, performance, their adaptability, their exhaustion around the pace of change. Because where it says here that that's the future of the evolution of the employee, I would say that's the now, not the future. And this was actually an image that was created in 2019 from research that was done prior to that. So it's already moved fast past this. And it's important when we are dealing with such a high volume of change that we recognize that does impact our team's performance and definitely consistency. If you're bringing in a new piece of technology, or you're changing business direction, or a new product or service, or even implementing a funnel, you need to have those conversations with the team about their capacity to handle that change. And this can be a good starting point for a non-confrontational, I suppose, conversation around how they're experiencing how fast the world of work is changing, and also what they need from you to be motivated to perform really well. I don't think there's too many surprises in this trend, but I will say that well-being is now a key metric. So it's a conversation you do need to be having with your individual team members. And if you are a solopreneur or you are the business owner, Katrina, you need to be having this conversation with yourself about whether you are honoring and valuing your well-being as a priority. If you were going to employ you in your business and well-being was a key metric, how would you rate yourself on that? Okay. We also want to talk about the Great Resignation. Who's heard of the Great Resignation? This could be really good for small businesses because more corporate employees are opting out of that space and looking for more flexible, inclusive, supportive of well-being kind of environments. And I don't know about you, but I started my small business because I was sick of corporate. And I wanted to create a workspace and an environment doing the type of work that really made my heart sing and could fit in with all the other priorities in my life, rather than trying to fit all my other priorities into somebody else's 9 to 5, for example. So have that conversation with your team. Why are they attracted to your small business? What it is about the working environment that they love? Or what could you do more of, less of, for example? Do they need more systems, processes to feel more efficient, to get out the door faster so they can go and play, sport in the afternoon or be at the kids' events? These are important conversations that we need to be having, firstly with ourselves as the business owner, and then engaging with our teams, and then crafting work styles and job styles that can meet some of those needs. Obviously, you can't morph yourself to suit the individual needs of every individual in your team, but you need to meet them somewhere. Who's heard of the quiet quitting? I hope this isn't happening in your organization. Yeah, quiet quitting. So I see this in corporates a lot. I see it in the university that I'm currently working in, who shall not be named. But it's when they're kind of there. They're in your team. They're in your office. They might be virtual. They might be wherever they might be, and they're not fully present. They're not fully engaged, and they're not bringing that discretionary effort, or they're being inconsistent. So we're talking here about consistency and efficiency. Maybe they're not looking for solutions to things that are taking them extra time or draining them. And the reason is that, there are so many options at the moment. There is a skills shortage, and it is absolutely an employees market. So if you need key talent to be retained in your team, you got to love them. And to love them, you need to know them. So have conversations with them. And if you've found that, you've got a fair bit of turnover, maybe new team members coming in, team members going, that has an impact on the people that are there. Have those honest, open conversations around stability, change, saying no, boundaries. How's their workload? How are they? Are they saying yes to enough? Are they saying no to enough? And that can be quite challenging, because good people, we want to give them more stuff, and good people might not be saying, I've had enough. Did that rhyme? Yeah, I think it did. Alrighty. Who wants to employ more women in their business? Excellent. You want to know why? They're leaving. If you got good ones, why are they leaving? If you want more good ones, what do you need to do differently to attract them, retain them, and absolutely engage them? Well, there are no secrets here. The Great Breakup, I thought, was quite funny, and it came out, I think, last month. I'll have to see, or even this month. And for me, it's really nothing new. It's just a lot more openly discussed, and women are actually saying it with their feet. They're getting out. They're opting out. They might be going into their own small business. They might be going into your small business. And if they are, that's awesome. What do they need, as I said, to be retained and engaged, so you can get the best out of them and you can get the best out of each other? They don't want to be passed over for promotion. So even in your small business, where are the opportunities for them to grow? And be honest, if there isn't, you can say to them, look, 12 months and you'll probably have learned and grown as much as I can provide for you. So unless something changes, let's talk about how we can help you get prepared for the next opportunity if it's not within your organization. Overworked and under-recognized. Anybody experience that for themselves, male or female? Yeah, absolutely. And here we go. The women are saying also they want to work for companies that prioritize DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. What does that look like in your small business? Maybe you've got all these things nailed. Yay! Flexible work, absolutely. Now, flexible work is different to different people. And like I said before, you can't accommodate everyone's needs, but it's worthwhile at least having the conversation. So maybe they absolutely love coming into the office because they've got a toddler at home. And when the toddler's at home, they can't be productive. They can't be consistent and efficient. And it doesn't make them feel good, but they don't quite know how to have that conversation with you or their family. So have that talk about what some of the solutions are for them. Maybe they want to come in on Mondays, but work the rest of the day from home. Talk the talk. And absolutely celebrate your small team members. These are basics, recognize, acknowledge, affirm, celebrate, and everyone's way of being recognized is different. So 5 love languages, who's heard of those? Yep. Words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, acts of service. Oh, physical touch, not so good in the workplace, depending on where you work. That's a bit of a tricky one to navigate, but the other 4, absolutely. So ask your team members, how do you like to be recognized? Maybe if you, put a cake on once a month to celebrate, you'll have some introverts or people who are quite little achievers who are like, good grief, please do not celebrate me in public with a cake. I'll be sick that day if I know it's happening. But if you wrote them a card and you quietly gave it to them and acknowledged them, find out what they need in order to feel acknowledged and celebrated. Quickie about burnout. What do you think the cost of burnout is? Well, let's talk about what is burnout. I love this. Workplace stress to the max. So the World Health Organization in 2019 identified it as a syndrome, and it's chronic workplace stress. So not just, had a bit of a hard day, or it's been a tough quarter, or it's been a couple of years of COVID. It is, I am exhausted. This is chronic. It has gone on for a long time. And I'm going to share some signs in order for you to be able to identify it in yourself and your teams, and then address it with some really simple strategies. The cost of burnout, $11 billion per annum. How much of the Australian economy is small business, do you reckon? Who knows the stats? I'll just wait for you to answer and drink some coffee.
About 95%.
Correct. So of that $11 billion, there's probably a decent enough portion of that cost associated to small businesses. I haven't got the details of all the stats. There's just some information there. But it stands to reason that it's something that you need to consider for your workplace, for your small business, particularly if it's you, if you're a solopreneur. I'll just remind you that it's not just the financial cost, it's also the life cost. And for those who've listened to my TEDx talk, you'll know a little bit about this man in the pink shirt. His name was Charles, and he was my boss. And we did amazing stuff. And we worked 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, sometimes longer, and we didn't take care of ourselves. And we were both absolutely burnt out. And my intuition was kind of getting my attention and said, Nicole, you need to do something different. And I made the decision to go on retreat. And he made the decision to wait till I got back and tell him what needed to change. Very efficient. He delegated that to me. And I came back and I said to him, oh, look, I haven't become a hippie, but there are definitely things we need to do differently in this workplace if we are to be consistent and efficient and sustainable. It's a nice way of putting it. And he said, great. Next day we had scheduled a meeting, but the next day he had passed away. He was 49. That's me down the bottom there. That's ridiculous. That is a waste of a life. And I was not far behind him either. So not only does burnout potentially cost money, but it costs you what's far more important, which is you and the reason that you get into business in the first place. What are the signs? Really quickly through these. I'm not sure how much more time I have, Katrina, so you can tell me. I've got 5, I've got 7, what have I got? So 3 characteristics of burnout: feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion. Like I said before, it's not, I've had a tough day. It's, I got no reserves, and no matter if I have a good night's sleep or I just can't seem to re-energize. Increased mental distance from our job, negativism and cynicism related to the job. Lean into the conversations your team members are having with each other. Is there a level of negativity and cynicism coming in around change and what's possible and what's not possible? And are they loving their jobs? Listen to what they're saying. And the reduced professional efficacy, fancy word, it just means you're just not doing the kind of quality job you used to do, and you doubt your ability to do it, even if you are doing it well. Some more practical ways of looking at it so that you can spot it more specifically. You just can't get into your day. You procrastinate, you put it off, or you get into the day, but you just can't be consistently productive, and you're just not as efficient as you used to be. Energy, we've already covered. Unsatisfied with your work achievements. This one at the bottom, don't put your hands up, but in your mind, you can put your hand up. Using food, drugs, or alcohol to distract you, make you feel better, or avoid feeling altogether as I sip my coffee. I don't think I'm burnt out. I just really like coffee. But I'm also very aware of the other things that I do that aren't supportive of my health, well-being, and longevity in the workplace. But not everyone is, and not everyone takes the time to really sit back and think about that. So as a team, if the team is you, look in the mirror. If the team is you plus anyone, have that conversation. And we're not pointing fingers and blame shaming here. We're saying, oh, let's look at the pattern and how can we support each other. How to avoid it, real quick. This is a long presentation, so I'll skip to the juicy bits. That's a juicy bit. You need to move more. You need to move more. It doesn't have to be tricky. You need to move more. You need to move. You need to eat well. And let's look at some workplace strategies. So, like I've said multiple times in different ways, lean in. You need to know yourself, and you need to know what makes your team members tick. What do they need to be consistently productive and for them to be efficient and helping your business run and grow? You need to know where their energy flows, where it goes, where it doesn't, and have those conversations. It's really important to understand that we all get stressed from time to time, and we all react and respond to it differently, and to make it part of the normal environment. Before you start every meeting, lean in. How's everyone doing? No, really, how's your day? How's your kid? How's your dog? How's your whatever? And really listen. Yeah. And take a few minutes to allow people to feel safe that they can share. Then move on to the business at hand. We're all humans first before we're a human resource for the organization or your business. Talk about flexibility in working roles and hours so that you can address any of the work design issues that might be there, and also corporate culture. So in your place, small business culture, is it inclusive? How do you handle change? How do you get everybody on board before the next big thing comes out? And I love this last bit. If you can't change the organization, change organizations. Very difficult if it's your business. You can't just go, I sack me and leave. You do need to, as a small business owner, really look at yourself. What do you need to do differently in order to make sure that you're creating an environment where the people feel comfortable to talk to you about how their productivity levels are, how they're managing stress, what could be better, different, more of, less of, etc. And if there are any efficiency issues related to workplace culture. So let's look at things such as bullying or expectation management or speaking up or feeling as if their viewpoint, idea is welcomed and valued. I do a lot around how to beat burnout. I work with individual people, business owners and organizations, and I take them through strategies where we go a lot deeper into the areas of the blueprint that helps you get super clear, make sure that everything is designed a way that everyone can get on board and you can get on board and everyone is setting themselves up for success, and then how you can truly shine in your business and in your personal life. So I hope you got some tips out of that. Just open it up to questions. First of all, I'd love to hear if any of that resonated with you, and if it did, what? And if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer those as well.
Thanks for another great session, Nicole. Mine's not a question, but it's probably adding to something that you said around.
Oh, can't hear you. I don't know where it went.
Oh, sorry. Can anyone else hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, it must be my computer. My apologies.
Oh.
Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
I can, and I heard you say thank you, but that was it.
Awesome. It was more, it's not a question, it's more around complementing something you said in terms of leaning into your employees or your team. One of my clients at Saving Brothers, he always says, how's your day going out of 10? And it actually makes somebody go, it's a 6 or an 8, and then you can actually respond with getting more details, because we always just say, yeah, good. And it's a way to, which I really like, it's a way to actually get information from someone. So I just wanted to add that to what you were saying.
That is brilliant. And something I shared the other day, which I've just remembered, thanks Jackie, which was when somebody asks you to do more work and your plate's full, right, and it can be difficult to say no, particularly if it's the boss that's asking you, you can say, oh, right, okay, so here's everything I have on my plate. What would you suggest I take off so I can put that on?
Yeah.
So I think we do need to practice the sorts of conversations, understand the concept, but practice the tools and the conversations before we get into those situations. So that was also a really good tip, Jackie. How are you feeling today out of 10? Obviously 10 being freaking awesome, 1 being I wish I didn't have to come to work today. Where are you on that scale? That's a great one.
I just had a, not a question, but something that resonated there, Nicole, as always. But one of the things you mentioned at the beginning was that people want, obviously, doesn't matter what gender, background, location, demographics, anything. Everyone wants more flexibility with their job. They want inclusive, they want supportive, equity, as you said, and diversity. But one of the biggest things that resonated with me was inclusion. And one of the things that is very little known about myself is I am 50% deaf. Actually, sorry, 70% deaf now, based on my latest hearing test, which is, a little depressing for myself. But I've got a lot of support because I've got the hearing aids. I was not impacted by speech impediment. Thank goodness for that. I love to sing, but don't know how well that comes across. Only you guys can tell me. But in any case, I won't share that here. I'll, how do you say, save you from that burden. But in any case, throughout my professional development, throughout my studies, everything, my deafness was always there on my shoulder, it's a chip on my shoulder, so to speak, but I never let it hold me back. I guess, it wasn't something that made me go, hey, look at me. I was always happy to stay on the sidelines. And a lot of people in the IT field tend to enjoy being at their desk or just, going along with the flow, not so much jumping out and wanting to be the center of attention. My family would disagree, of course, but that I think that happens with everyone. But just being acknowledging the fact that businesses and companies and everyone are becoming more and more inclusive. And I think that's probably something that I think I mentioned at the beginning of the session, that we are looking at running our fourth event, which is this one here, Business Expansion for 2022. So it'll be 2023. And we'll be focused on supporting two different charities. One will be inclusion related, and the other will be, supporting the Vietnam veterans. So supporting our military services and those who have given service to their country. So inclusion is a huge resonator for me, because you need to, realize that although there's something holding people back, maybe physically, there's nothing wrong up here. Absolutely nothing wrong up here. And you'll be surprised that Ranking Australia is actually 50% inclusive hiring. So, myself included, naturally, but I've managed to achieve quite a lot without, keeping tickets on myself. Although we have to keep tickets on ourselves, don't we? If we want to get out there and achieve, we need to sing those achievements that we've actually made in our lives. And one of those things is to establish my own business with a lot of support from Nicole. Over the last few years, I've allowed myself to acknowledge that and be able to move forward. So thanks for sharing that aspect of your presentation there, Nicole.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And Sophia put inclusive conversations in a safe space. What does that look like in practice? And is there a special conversation for the Indigenous? Absolutely is. Special conversation for the Indigenous. And in small business, we also need to acknowledge, the example set by the larger organisations around that area of the inclusivity and the diversity. It's something that I'm still learning about, and I forget. I absolutely forget. I forget to do welcome to country. And that's my bad, and I will do better in the future. And there is actually, even in the universities now, there are whole teams of people learning about Indigenous cultures for workplaces. So there's courses that you can do on that. So yes, there is a special conversation around that, but I can't add any value to that at the moment. Does anyone else have anything around creating that safer space for conversations, and particularly in the context of the Indigenous community?
Only that there are representatives in the community that are happy to discuss that a little bit. So in the Moreton Bay region, I know there's I think it's Uncle Mick at the police station. There's a few different people out there that you can actually call on and they're more than happy to engage with you if you are genuinely interested in making sure you get things right. And then you might want to ask for a quotation for them to come out and actually train you privately as well. But I do know that if you're showing genuine respect and want to make sure you get it right, there's people out there that you can tap into.
There's a particular yoga teacher at my yoga studio, and she will always do a welcome to country and acknowledgement of the traditional owners. And she keeps saying the name of the traditional owners. And now I'm much more aware of it. So even in that little way, so I'm much more aware of it. And I started to look around the mountains and the environment around me and started to recognize, wow. So, small steps, we all do the best we can. And there are online programs. You can just Google it and find out. There are these incredible maps around all the different traditional communities and which parts of Australia to acknowledge them if you want to acknowledge your particular area.
Yeah, and the local councils generally have a web page up there for that local region as well, so you can make sure you're getting the right people or custodians that you're acknowledging as well.
Absolutely. As a parting, because I know that we'll have to move on to the next person, I just wanted to say, look, this is my passion area, the anti-burnout. And the burnout awareness, and I will come to workplaces for free. Either if I can physically be there, I will be there, because it does we can have more powerful conversations around it and actually look at practical strategies to implement in individual workplaces. I do this for free. It's my passion area, and obviously online available as well. So Jamin, I will follow up on the request to come to, is it Rotary, to your Rotary Club? Yeah, absolutely. Oh, hit me up on LinkedIn. I mean, hit me up. I don't mean, you know what I mean. Message me on LinkedIn. Oh,
Connect with Nicole on LinkedIn, guys.
absolutely. I'll share my screen. I want to share with you this digital tool, and I hope everyone's using this digital tool as well. I can't see past my computer. Isn't that funny? Is everyone using the digital LinkedIn QR code?
Not yet.
I highly recommend that you use it. I'll pop it. Ooh,
Pop a link in the chat if you can, because it's
I'll do that. Go ahead.
I've got to move on.